Ambassador Crawford's life changed forever with a single handshake. As his palm met the cool, scaled skin of Iridian General Korvac, he had no idea he'd just become the first human male to bear an alien child. The main conference room of Nexus 7 space station buzzed with tension. Earth's delegation stood on one side, the Iridians on the other. This was humanity's first contact with an advanced alien civilization, and the stakes couldn't be higher. Peace talks balanced on a knife's edge. Crawford felt a wave of nausea wash over him moments after the handshake. He steadied himself against the polished obsidian table, drawing concerned looks from both sides. Dr. Eliza Chen, Earth's chief medical officer, rushed to his side. "Ambassador, are you all right?" she asked, already activating her handheld medical scanner. Crawford opened his mouth to respond, but another wave of dizziness hit him. He collapsed into a nearby chair, vision swimming. The Iridian delegation chittered nervously, their bioluminescent patches flashing in agitation. "What have you done to him?" Admiral James Hawthorne demanded, his hand instinctively moving to the pistol at his hip. Iridian Ambassador Thrax stepped forward, mandibles clicking. "We assure you we've done nothing. Perhaps your ambassador is unwell." Dr. Chen's scanner beeped urgently. Her eyes widened as she read the results. This can't be right," she muttered. "What is it, Doctor?" Hawthorne pressed. Chen looked up, her face pale. "Ambassador Crawford appears to be pregnant with Iridian DNA." The room erupted into chaos. Humans shouted accusations of biological warfare, while Iridians screeched denials. In the center of it all, Crawford sat, stunned into silence. Iridian xenobiologist Zorn pushed through the crowd, his elongated fingers dancing over a holographic interface. "Impossible," he muttered. "Unless... Oh, stars above." "Explain," Thrax demanded. Zorn's bioluminescent patches pulsed rapidly. "Our species reproduces through genetic transfer via dermal contact, but it should be impossible with a non-Iridian. The biological differences are too great." As the implications sank in, the mood in the room shifted from anger to shock. Humanity had just discovered it was biologically compatible with an alien species through an accidental pregnancy. News of the incident spread like wildfire. Within hours, protests erupted on Earth. Some called for war, convinced this was a Iridian plot. Others saw it as a sign of cosmic destiny, proof that humans and Iridians were meant to ally. On Nexus 7, the situation grew more tense by the minute. Admiral Hawthorne placed the station on high alert, demanding General Korvac be detained for questioning. The Iridians, outraged at the suggestion, threatened to withdraw from negotiations entirely. Caught in the middle of this interstellar crisis was Crawford, grappling with the reality of carrying an alien child. Earth's government pressured him to terminate the pregnancy, citing national security concerns. The Iridians, however, viewed the developing life as sacred and demanded its protection. As junior diplomat Alex Reeves watched the events unfold, he couldn't help but marvel at the absurdity of it all. First contact, and humanity had managed to get knocked up. It was a diplomatic incident for the ages. With Crawford's condition deteriorating rapidly, both species found themselves in a race against time. They needed to overcome their prejudices and find a solution before the alien pregnancy claimed the ambassador's life, and potentially sparked an interstellar war. The fate of two civilizations now rested on the most unexpected of foundations, an accidental alien pregnancy born from a simple handshake. Dr. Chen's fingers flew across her medical tablet, her brow furrowed in concentration. "Ambassador Crawford's vital signs are deteriorating rapidly," she announced, her voice tight with concern. "The Iridian fetus is growing at an unprecedented rate, putting immense strain on his organs." Admiral Hawthorne paced the length of the medical bay, his boots echoing on the metal floor. He stopped abruptly, turning to face the anxious faces of his staff. "We have no choice," he said, his voice heavy with reluctance. "Allow the Iridian medical team on board." Within hours, Iridian xenobiologist Zorn arrived with a team of specialists, their scaled bodies glistening under the station's harsh lighting. They carried strange, pulsating devices that hummed with alien energy. "We must act quickly," Zorn chittered, his bioluminescent patches flashing urgently. Your ambassador's life hangs in the balance. The Iridians commandeered one of Nexus 7's laboratories, transforming it into a high-tech birthing chamber. Human crew members watched warily as the aliens installed their equipment, filling the air with an acrid, unfamiliar scent. Junior diplomat Alex Reeves found himself thrust into the center of the crisis, assigned as liaison between the human and Iridian medical teams. He watched in awe as Zorn's elongated fingers danced over holographic displays, adjusting parameters beyond human comprehension. "How is this possible?" Alex asked, gesturing to Crawford's swollen abdomen. "Our species are so different." Zorn's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. "There are mysteries in the cosmos that even we do not fully understand, young human." Something in the Iridian's tone made Alex suspicious. He began to spend his free moments poring over the alien database, searching for clues. Late one night, as the station hummed with nervous energy, he stumbled upon a reference to genetic resonance. Back on Earth, the situation was spiraling out of control. President Evelyn Sato stood before the United Earth Council, her face grim. "We stand at a crossroads," she declared. "Our next actions will determine the future of human-Iridian relations." General Marcus Stone, his chest overflowing with medals, hit his fist on the table. "This is clearly an act of biological warfare. We must strike now, while we still have the advantage." Ambassador Liu Chen, her silver hair gleaming under the council chamber lights, shook her head. "Hasty action could doom us all. We must continue negotiations, find a peaceful solution." Outside, the streets of major cities worldwide erupted in chaos. In Washington, D.C., protesters clashed violently near the White House. "Earth for humans," they chanted, waving anti-alien banners. Across the street, a group of scientists and peace activists held their ground. "Unity through understanding," they countered. On Nexus 7, Crawford's condition worsened by the hour. His skin took on a sickly, mottled appearance, and his breathing became labored. Dr. Chen and Zorn worked tirelessly, their species' differences forgotten in the face of a common goal. Alex continued his covert investigation, piecing together fragments of information. He discovered that genetic resonance was an incredibly rare phenomenon, occurring only when two highly compatible individuals from different species came into contact. The implications were staggering. As Crawford's pregnancy accelerated to full term in a matter of days, alarms blared throughout the station. Admiral Hawthorne's voice crackled over the intercom. "All personnel to battle stations. Iridian warship detected on approach vector." The massive alien vessel dropped out of faster-than-light travel, its weapons trained on Nexus 7. On the bridge, Hawthorne barked orders. "Intercept course, power up defense systems." In the makeshift medical bay, Crawford writhed in agony as contractions racked his body. Dr. Chen prepared for emergency surgery, her hands steady despite the chaos around her. Zorn and his team worked feverishly, their alien instruments pulsing with strange energies. Suddenly, a wave of energy erupted from Crawford's swollen abdomen. Lights flickered and computer screens went dark. On the bridge, weapon systems powered down inexplicably. The approaching Earth defense fleet reported similar malfunctions. Alex burst into the medical bay, breathless. "The child," he gasped. "It's emitting some kind of energy field. It's affecting both human and Iridian tech." Zorn's bioluminescent patches flashed rapidly. "Incredible," he chittered. "A perfect union of our species' energies." As the station's systems fluctuated wildly, Alex realized the gravity of the situation. This hybrid child might be the key to preventing an interstellar war. He raced towards the bridge, his mind racing to find the right words to convince both sides to stand down. In the medical bay, Crawford's body convulsed as the alien pregnancy reached its climax. Dr. Chen and Zorn worked in perfect synchronization, their hands steady as they prepared to bring a new form of life into the universe. The fate of two civilizations hung in the balance as the unprecedented birth began. Neither humans nor Iridians could have predicted the consequences of their first true union, but as the hybrid child prepared to enter the world, it was clear that nothing would ever be the same again. The makeshift medical bay on Nexus 7 erupted into chaos as Ambassador Crawford's body convulsed violently. Dr. Chen's voice cut through the din, sharp and authoritative. "We need to perform an emergency C-section now." Zorn's elongated fingers danced over holographic controls, adjusting parameters on alien medical devices. "Agreed. The child's energy signature is destabilizing. We must act quickly." As they prepped for surgery, the station shuddered. Lights flickered and equipment sparked. Dr. Chen's steady hands belied the tension in her voice. "Zorn, we're losing power. How do we proceed?" The Iridian xenobiologist's bioluminescent patches pulsed rapidly. "We adapt. Our technologies intertwine, just as our species have." He gestured to a pulsating Iridian device. "This will provide the necessary energy. Are you ready, Dr. Chen?" She nodded, gripping a scalpel. "Let's bring this child into the universe." As they worked to extract the hybrid infant, Alex Reeves sprinted through Nexus 7's corridors. He dodged panicked crew members and leapt over sparking panels. His lungs burned, but he pressed on, clutching a data pad containing his research on genetic resonance. He burst onto the command deck, gasping for air. "Admiral Hawthorne, you need to see this!" Hawthorne turned from the main view screen, his face etched with worry. "Make it quick, Reeves. We're on the brink of war here." Alex thrust the data pad forward. "Sir, the child isn't a threat. It's a bridge between our species. Genetic resonance, it's incredibly rare. This could be the key to understanding the Iridians." Hawthorne's eyes widened as he scanned the information. "This changes everything. But how do we—" His words were cut off as a violent tremor shook the station. Warning klaxons blared. In the medical bay, Crawford's body arched as Dr. Chen made the final incision. Zorn leaned forward, mandibles clicking excitedly. "I see the child!" A pulse of energy erupted from Crawford's abdomen, momentarily blinding everyone in the room. As their vision cleared, they heard a sound that transcended species, the cry of a newborn. Dr. Chen lifted the infant, her eyes wide with wonder. The child was a marvel of human and Iridian biology. Soft, pinkish skin was mottled with patches of iridescent scales. 5-fingered hands ended in delicate claws, and bioluminescent patches pulsed along its spine. "Remarkable," Zorn chittered, reaching out to examine the child. "A perfect union of our species." Suddenly, the doors to the medical bay hissed open. General Korvac burst in, having broken free from his guards. His eyes locked onto the child, and something primal awakened within him. "Stand back!" Dr. Chen shouted, cradling the infant protectively. But Korvac didn't attack. Instead, his body began to change. His scaled skin softened, taking on a more pliable texture. His claws retracted, and his bioluminescent patches shifted position. Zorn's mandibles clacked in astonishment. "Paternal metamorphosis! I've only read about this in ancient texts." Dr. Chen watched in fascination as Korvac's transformation stabilized. "What's happening to him?" "He's adapting to care for the child," Zorn explained. "Iridian physiology is more plastic than yours. In rare cases, a parent can physically change to meet the needs of their offspring." Korvac stepped forward, his transformed arms outstretched. Dr. Chen hesitated, then gently placed the infant in his embrace. The moment they touched, a connection formed. Korvac's bioluminescent patches pulsed in sync with the child's, creating a hypnotic light show. The hybrid infant cooed, then emitted a powerful pulse of energy. The medical bay's systems sprang back to life, screens flickering with data. On the command deck, Hawthorne watched in awe as power was restored across Nexus 7. "What just happened?" Alex's eyes widened as he scanned incoming reports. "Sir, the child, it's transmitted a massive data package to both our systems and the Iridian ship. It's everything. Biology, history, culture, a complete exchange of knowledge between our species." Hawthorne's comm unit crackled to life. President Sato's voice filled the room. "Admiral, I've seen the feed. This is an unprecedented opportunity. Stand down immediately and prepare for emergency talks with Iridian leadership." As tensions eased, the focus shifted back to the medical bay. Crawford stirred, groaning as he regained consciousness. His eyes widened at the sight of Korvac holding their child. What? What happened? Crawford asked, his voice weak. Dr. Chen smiled. Congratulations, Ambassador. You're a father. Korvac stepped closer, his transformed features softening with emotion. We both are, he said, his voice a blend of Iridian clicks and human tones. Crawford reached out, touching the infant's cheek. He's beautiful. What should we call him? Korvac's bioluminescent patches pulsed softly. In my culture, we name children after cosmic phenomena. What do you think of Zephyr? Crawford nodded, tears welling in his eyes. Zephyr. Perfect. As if responding to his name, Zephyr gurgled. Before their eyes, his form shifted slightly. Within minutes, he had the appearance of a human toddler, albeit with Iridian features. Dr. Chen gasped. Incredible! His growth rate is off the charts! Zorn scanned the child with a Iridian device. Not just physical growth, his cognitive development is exponential. He's processing information at an astonishing rate. As if to prove Zorn's point, Zephyr spoke his first words, in perfect Iridian, then flawless English. Hello, fathers. Crawford and Korvac exchanged shocked glances. The implications of raising this extraordinary child began to sink in. Alex Reeves entered the medical bay, his face a mix of excitement and apprehension. Ambassador Crawford, General Korvac, President Sato has ordered the formation of a joint human-Iridian research team to study Zephyr and the effects of genetic resonance. She's requesting your participation. Crawford looked at Korvac, then at their rapidly growing son. I suppose our lives just got a lot more complicated. Korvac nodded, his transformed features displaying a very human smile. Indeed. But perhaps that's exactly what both our species needed. As Zephyr babbled in a mixture of human and Iridian languages, the adults in the room realized they were witnessing the dawn of a new era. The future of human-Iridian relations now rested in the hands and genes of this extraordinary child. As Ambassador Crawford and General Korvac gazed at their rapidly growing son, the reality of their new situation began to sink in. Zephyr, now resembling a human toddler with distinct Iridian features, babbled happily in a mix of languages, his cognitive abilities expanding at an exponential rate. Dr. Chen ran another series of scans, her eyes widening at the results. This is unprecedented. His neural pathways are forming at an astonishing rate. We need to set up a more comprehensive monitoring system. Zorn chittered in agreement, his mandibles clicking excitedly. Yes, and we must establish a proper research facility. The implications of this genetic resonance phenomenon are far-reaching. Within days, Nexus 7 transformed into a bustling hub of scientific inquiry. A joint human-Iridian research team, led by Dr. Chen and Zorn, took over an entire deck of the station. Labs hummed with activity as scientists from both species worked side by side, studying Zephyr's unique physiology. Crawford watched as his son, now resembling a human preteen, effortlessly solved complex equations on a holographic display. It's incredible, he murmured to Korvac. He's processing information faster than our most advanced AI systems. Korvac nodded, his transformed features creased with a mix of pride and concern. Yes, but how do we parent a child who's intellectually surpassing us by the hour? Their conversation was interrupted by Alex Reeves, who entered the observation room with a datapad in hand. Ambassador, General, we've got a situation developing. He pulled up a holographic display showing news feeds from Earth and the Iridian homeworld. Images of protests and counter-protests filled the screen. Zephyr's existence is catalyzing major social changes on both planets. Interspecies relationships are on the rise, but so is opposition to alien integration. Crawford frowned, watching footage of a violent clash outside the United Earth Council building. This could destabilize everything we've worked for. Korvac's bioluminescent patches pulsed with concern. We must act quickly to address these tensions. As if on cue, President Sato's face appeared on the main view screen. Ambassador Crawford, General Korvac, I trust you're aware of the situation? Crawford nodded. Yes, Madam President, we're monitoring it closely. Sato's expression was grim. Then you understand the gravity of our position. I'm proposing a new initiative, Project Harmony. We'll establish a permanent human settlement on the Iridian homeworld with a reciprocal Iridian colony on Earth. It's time to fully commit to this alliance. The proposal sent shockwaves through Nexus 7. Dr. Chen immediately applied to join the Earthbound Iridian colony, eager to continue her research in a new environment. Think of the possibilities, she told Zorn excitedly. We could study genetic resonance in diverse ecosystems. However, not everyone shared her enthusiasm. Admiral Hawthorne called an emergency meeting with Crawford, Korvac, and Alex Reeves. We've got problems, Hawthorne said, pulling up intelligence reports. A group called the Terran Purity Front is gaining traction on Earth. They're led by Senator Marcus Graves, and they're calling for complete isolation from alien species. Alex leaned forward, studying the reports. And there's similar resistance on the Iridian side. Conservative factions are pushing back against the idea of human presence on their homeworld. Korvac's newly acquired human-like features twisted with concern. This could derail everything we've worked for. Crawford nodded, his mind racing. We need to get ahead of this. Alex, I want you to head up a new joint human-Iridian security task force. We need to protect Nexus 7 and ensure the safety of Project Harmony participants. As tensions escalated, Zephyr continued to grow and develop. Now resembling a human teenager, he displayed an uncanny ability to mediate conflicts between humans and Iridians on the station. During a particularly heated argument between two scientists, Zephyr stepped in. His bioluminescent patches pulsed softly as he spoke, his voice a perfect blend of human and Iridian tones. Dr. Petrov, your concerns about data sharing are valid, and xenobiologist Krex, your desire to expedite the research is understandable. Perhaps we can establish a tiered system of information exchange. The two scientists, initially overflowing with anger, found themselves nodding in agreement. Crawford and Korvac watched in amazement as their son deftly navigated the complex web of interspecies politics. He has a gift, Crawford murmured. Korvac nodded, his transformed features softening with pride. More than that, he might be the key to making Project Harmony succeed. As preparations for the ambitious cultural exchange program moved forward, Alex Reeves found himself working long hours, coordinating security measures and vetting potential participants. Late one night, as he pored over applicant files, a discrepancy caught his eye. Computer, cross-reference these financial records with known Terran Purity Front supporters, he commanded. The system beeped, highlighting a series of suspicious transactions. Alex's eyes widened as he began to uncover evidence of a coordinated effort to sabotage Project Harmony. He immediately contacted Crawford and Korvac. We've got a problem, he said, his voice tense. There's a conspiracy to undermine the project, and it's not just humans. I'm seeing evidence of Iridian extremist involvement too. Crawford's face paled. If this information leaks, it could spark an interstellar incident. Korvac's bioluminescent patches flashed rapidly. We must act quickly and discreetly. The future of human-Iridian relations hangs in the balance. As they discussed their next moves, Zephyr entered the room. Despite his youthful appearance, his eyes held a wisdom far beyond his years. Fathers, he said, his voice carrying an otherworldly resonance. I believe I can help. Crawford and Korvac exchanged glances, realizing that their extraordinary child might indeed hold the key to preserving the fragile peace between their species. With time running out and the forces of division growing stronger, they knew that the true test of Project Harmony and the future of human-Iridian cooperation was about to begin. As the gravity of the situation sank in, Zephyr's eyes gleamed with a persistence beyond his years. I have an idea, he said, his voice carrying a blend of human warmth and Iridian resonance. Let me address the station. Crawford and Korvac exchanged glances, silently communicating their concerns. After a moment, Crawford nodded. All right, son, but we'll be right there with you. Within hours, Nexus 7's main atrium was packed with humans and Iridians alike, all curious about the impromptu gathering. Zephyr stood on a raised platform, his hybrid features drawing all eyes to him. Friends, colleagues, fellow pioneers, Zephyr began, his voice echoing through the chamber. We stand at a crossroads. Our two species have made incredible strides towards unity, but forces seek to divide us. I propose we take the next step together. As Zephyr outlined his vision for an interspecies medical research facility, the crowd's murmurs grew from skepticism to excitement. Dr. Chen, standing near the front, nodded vigorously, her mind already racing with possibilities. "This is brilliant," she whispered to Zorn. "A neutral facility could bypass so many of the ethical concerns we've been facing." Zorn's mandibles clicked in agreement. Indeed, it could also serve as a model for future collaborative projects. As Zephyr's speech concluded, the atrium erupted in applause. Even Admiral Hawthorne, watching from the back, allowed himself a small smile. "The kid's got charisma," he muttered to Alex Reeves. "Let's hope it's enough." Reeves nodded, his expression grim. "It'll have to be. I've got a bad feeling about what's coming." Over the next few days, Nexus 7 buzzed with activity as preparations for Project Harmony's launch intensified. Dr. Chen and Zorn worked tirelessly to set up the new research facility, their excitement palpable as they discussed potential breakthroughs. Meanwhile, Reeves threw himself into his investigation, spending long hours poring over data and communications logs. It was during one such late-night session that he stumbled upon a crucial lead. "Computer, cross-reference these financial transactions with known associates of Senator Graves," Reeves commanded, his eyes burning from hours of staring at screens. The system beeped, highlighting a series of suspicious transfers. Reeves leaned in, his heart racing as he realized the implications. "Got you," he whispered. The next morning, Reeves briefed Crawford and Korvac on his findings. "Senator Graves is definitely involved," he reported. "And he's not working alone. There's evidence of Iridian extremist involvement, too." Crawford's face darkened. "This could spark an interstellar incident if it gets out." Korvac's bioluminescent patches pulsed rapidly. "We must act swiftly and discreetly." Reeves nodded. "I've got a plan, but it's risky. I need to go undercover, infiltrate the Terran Purity Front." After much debate, the plan was approved. Reeves found himself on Earth, deep in the heart of the Terran Purity Front's operations. It was there he met Lisa Graves, the senator's daughter. "I want to help," Lisa whispered during a clandestine meeting. "My father's views, they're poison. This isn't the future I want for humanity." With Lisa's help, Reeves gathered crucial intelligence, including plans for a coordinated attack on Project Harmony facilities. As he prepared to transmit the information back to Nexus 7, alarms blared through the Terran Purity Front's compound. "We've been made," Lisa hissed, grabbing Reeves's arm. "We need to move now." Back on Nexus 7, tensions were rising. Dr. Chen burst into Crawford's office, her face flushed with excitement. "Ambassador, we've done it. We've identified the key to Zephyr's genetic adaptability." She pulled up a holographic display showing a complex protein structure. "This could revolutionize medicine for both our species. The potential applications are staggering." As news of the discovery spread, so did the complications. Within hours, Crawford's communication channels were flooded with messages from pharmaceutical companies on both Earth and the Iridian homeworld, all clamoring for exclusive rights to the research. Amidst the chaos, Zephyr remained a calm presence. He organized cultural exchange events, bringing humans and Iridians together through art, music, and cuisine. The station's corridors filled with the sounds of blended melodies and the aromas of fusion dishes. "This is working better than we could have hoped," Crawford said to Korvac as they watched a group of human and Iridian children collaborating on a mural. "Maybe there's hope, after all." Korvac's response was cut short by a priority alert from Admiral Hawthorne. "We've received intelligence from Reeves," Hawthorne's voice crackled through the comm. "There's an attack coming. They're after Zephyr." As Crawford and Korvac rushed to implement security measures, Reeves and Lisa were racing back to Nexus 7, their stolen shuttle pushing its engines to the limit. "We have to warn them," Reeves muttered, his fingers flying over the control panel. "If we're too late—" Lisa placed a hand on his shoulder. "We won't be. We can't be." On Nexus 7, as the station's inhabitants went about their daily lives, unaware of the looming threat, Admiral Hawthorne gathered his joint human-Iridian security team. "We have credible intelligence of an imminent attack," he briefed them, his voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. Our primary objective is to protect the civilians and secure Zephyr. Understood? The team nodded, a mix of human and Iridian faces united in purpose. As the security teams took their positions, Crawford and Korvac found Zephyr in the newly established research facility, deep in discussion with Dr. Chen and Zorn about the potential applications of genetic resonance. "Son," Crawford said, his voice tight with worry, "we need to move you to a secure location." Zephyr looked up, his eyes showing a wisdom far beyond his apparent years. "No," he said firmly, "I won't hide. If there's to be an attack, I need to be here, visible, showing that we won't be intimidated." Korvac's bioluminescent patches pulsed with a mix of pride and fear. "It's too dangerous," he argued. But Zephyr stood firm. "This is bigger than me," he insisted. "It's about the future of both our species. We can't let fear dictate our actions." As they debated, the first alarms began to sound. The attack on Nexus 7 had begun. The piercing wail of alarms filled the corridors of Nexus 7 as chaos erupted. Admiral Hawthorne's voice boomed over the station-wide intercom. "Attention, all personnel. This is not a drill. We are implementing immediate lockdown procedures. Remain where you are and await further instructions." Crawford and Korvac exchanged a worried glance before turning to Zephyr. "We need to get you to safety," Crawford insisted, reaching for his son's arm. But Zephyr stood his ground, eyes blazing with perseverance. "No, father. I won't hide while others are in danger. My place is here, helping however I can." Before Crawford could argue further, Dr. Chen burst into the room, her face flushed with excitement despite the growing pandemonium. "Ambassador General, you need to see this," she said, gesturing to a nearby console. As they gathered around the screen, images of a grand cultural showcase filled the display. Zephyr's voice narrated over scenes of human and Iridian artists collaborating on stunning installations, musicians blending their unique styles into haunting melodies, and chefs creating fusion dishes that tantalize the senses. "This is being broadcast live to both Earth and the Iridian homeworld," Dr. Chen explained. "The response has been overwhelming. We're seeing a massive surge of support for Project Harmony." Korvac's bioluminescent patches pulsed with a mix of pride and concern. "It's a powerful message, but it also makes us a bigger target." As if on cue, the lights flickered ominously. Crawford's communicator crackled to life with Admiral Hawthorne's urgent voice. "Crawford, we've got a situation. Reeves just made contact. There's an infiltration team on board, disguised as maintenance workers. They're after Zephyr and planning to sabotage life support." The gravity of the situation sank in as the group shared a moment of stunned silence. Then Zephyr spoke up, his voice carrying an otherworldly calm. "We need to split up. Dr. Chen, Zorn, secure your research. It's too valuable to fall into the wrong hands. Fathers, we should—" Zephyr's words were cut short as the door to the lab burst open. A group of figures in maintenance uniforms rushed in, brandishing weapons. "Nobody move!" the lead infiltrator shouted. Crawford and Korvac moved in unison, positioning themselves protectively in front of Zephyr. The hybrid's eyes widened as he sensed the attacker's intentions through his empathic abilities. "They're here to take me," he warned telepathically. What followed was a blur of motion as Crawford and Korvac sprang into action. Crawford's years of diplomatic training had included intensive self-defense courses, and he put them to use now, deflecting a punch and countering with a swift jab to his attacker's solar plexus. Beside him, Korvac moved with an alien grace, his transformed body allowing him to dodge and weave with inhuman speed. He caught one infiltrator's arm, using the attacker's momentum to flip him onto his back. The two fathers fought in perfect synchronization, their movements complementing each other as if they'd trained together for years. Human martial arts blended seamlessly with Iridian combat techniques, creating a formidable defense against the would-be kidnappers. As the fight raged on, alarms blared with increasing urgency. The station shuddered, and the air grew noticeably thinner. "Life support is failing in multiple sections," Dr. Chen reported, her fingers flying over a nearby console. "We need to get to the main environmental control room." Zorn clicked his mandibles in agreement. "We can initiate the emergency protocols from there and protect our research data." As they spoke, Zephyr's eyes glazed over, his mind reaching out across the station. "I can sense them," he murmured. "The infiltrators. They're spread throughout the lower levels, but their main force is heading for the command center." Crawford nodded grimly, delivering a final knockout blow to one of the attackers. "We need to warn Hawthorne. Zephyr, can you establish a telepathic link?" Zephyr closed his eyes, concentrating. In the command center, Admiral Hawthorne jerked in surprise as Zephyr's voice echoed in his mind, relaying crucial intelligence about the infiltrators' positions and plans. "This changes everything," Hawthorne muttered, turning to his security team. "Alpha team, secure the environmental controls. Beta and Gamma, sweep the lower levels. Delta, with me, we're going to cut off their approach to the command center." As Hawthorne's orders crackled over the comms, the station's defenders moved with newfound purpose. Human and Iridian security forces worked in tandem, their movements coordinated by Zephyr's telepathic link. But the extremists were far from defeated. In a hidden corner of the station, a figure in a containment suit carefully removed a vial from a secure case. "Initiating release of Project Nemesis," they reported into a concealed communicator. "The hybrid abomination won't survive this." Moments later, an alarm blared, reporting a biohazard in the station's air circulation system. Dr. Chen's face paled as she analyzed the data. "It's a genetic weapon," she gasped, "designed to target human Uridian hybrids. Zephyr's in danger." Zorn's eyes widened in understanding. "We need to get to the lab. Now, I have an idea, but we'll need access to our genetic resonance research." As they raced through the corridors, dodging panicked crew members and pockets of conflict between security forces and infiltrators, Zephyr's breathing grew labored. His skin took on a sickly pallor, bioluminescent patches flickering erratically. "Hold on, son," Crawford urged, supporting Zephyr as they ran. "We're almost there." In the lab, Dr. Chen and Zorn worked feverishly, their movements a blur as they accessed their research data and prepared equipment. "We need a sample of Zephyr's blood," Chen called out, readying a syringe. As Korvac helped Zephyr onto an examination table, the hybrid's eyes suddenly snapped open, glowing with an intense inner light. "I can feel it," he whispered. "The bioweapon, but also something else. A resonance in my genes. It's trying to adapt, to fight back." Chen and Zorn exchanged a look of excitement. "That's it," Zorn exclaimed. "The adaptive properties of genetic resonance. If we can isolate and amplify that response, we might be able to create an antidote," Chen finished, her fingers flying over a computer interface. As the scientists worked, Crawford received an urgent communication from Admiral Hawthorne. "We've got the infiltrators on the run, but they've done significant damage to our systems. We're evacuating non-essential personnel to the emergency shelters. How's Zephyr?" Crawford looked at his son, lying pale and weak on the examination table, then at the determined faces of Chen and Zorn as they raced against time. "He's hanging on," Crawford replied, his voice tight with emotion. "But we need more time." Outside Nexus 7, a protective cordon of Earth and Iridian ships had formed, their weapons charged and ready. On both homeworlds, news of the attack spread like wildfire. Crowds gathered in front of public view screens, watching with nervous excitement as the fate of Nexus 7 and the future of human-Iridian relations hung in the balance. In the lab, a machine beeped insistently. Chen's eyes lit up as she examined the results. "We've got it. The antidote is synthesizing now." As she prepared to administer the treatment to Zephyr, the lab doors slid open. A group of heavily armed extremists burst in, their weapons trained on the occupants. "Step away from the hybrid," their leader growled. "It's time to end this abomination once and for all." Crawford and Korvac moved to shield their son, while Chen clutched the precious vial of antidote. The air crackled with tension as both sides faced off, the fate of two species balanced on a knife's edge. Crawford and Korvac stood their ground, shielding Zephyr from the extremist weapons. The air in the lab crackled with tension as both sides faced off, the fate of two species balanced on a knife's edge. Suddenly, Zephyr's eyes flashed with an otherworldly light. He gasped, his voice strained but clear. "The bioweapon. It's spreading through the station. Dr. Chen's eyes widened as she glanced at the environmental readouts on a nearby console. He's right. The pathogen levels are spiking in multiple sections. The lead extremist sneered. It's over. The abomination will die. And with it, this misguided attempt at unity. But Zephyr wasn't finished. His voice took on an eerie, echoing quality as he spoke. I can feel it, trying to adapt. My cells are fighting back. Dr. Chen and Zorn exchanged a look of realization. The genetic resonance? Zorn clicked excitedly. If we can isolate the adaptive response, we might have a chance at creating an antidote, Chen finished, her mind racing with possibilities. The extremist leader raised his weapon. Enough talk! Step away from the hybrid! Crawford tensed, ready to fight, but Korvac placed a restraining hand on his arm. The Iridian's bioluminescent patches pulsed with a calculated intensity. You're too late, Korvac said, his alien features unreadable to human eyes. The bioweapon has already been released. If you kill Zephyr now, you doom yourselves as well. He may be the key to saving us all. The extremists hesitated, uncertainty creeping into their stance. In that moment of distraction, Crawford's communicator crackled to life. Admiral Hawthorne's voice cut through the tension. Crawford, we're activating compartmentalization protocols. We need to slow this thing down. As if on cue, heavy blast doors began slamming shut throughout the station. The sound echoed through the corridors, a thunderous reminder of the growing danger. Seizing the moment, Crawford spoke up. You have a choice. Work with us to find a cure, or die here as the station's air runs out. What's it going to be? The lead extremist's purpose visibly wavered. After a tense moment, he lowered his weapon. Fine, but we'll be watching your every move. With the immediate threat neutralized, the lab burst into a flurry of activity. Dr. Chen and Zorn worked feverishly, their hands flying over equipment as they began the process of isolating Zephyr's unique cellular response. We need to synthesize a counteragent, Chen muttered, her eyes fixed on a microscope. Zorn, can you start mapping the protein structures? The Iridian scientist clicked in affirmation, his multiple limbs operating several devices simultaneously. Meanwhile, Crawford received another transmission from Hawthorne. We've got another problem. A group of infiltrators is heading for the command center. We need to stop them. Zephyr, still weak but alert, closed his eyes in concentration. I can sense them, he said, his voice distant. I can create a mental map of their locations. Korvac looked at his son with a mix of pride and concern. Are you sure you're strong enough? Zephyr nodded weakly. I have to try. It's our best chance. As Zephyr extended his empathic abilities throughout the station, Crawford relayed the information to Hawthorne. In the command center, the Admiral's voice barked out orders, directing security teams with precision. Reeves, newly arrived on the station, led a strike team through the winding corridors. Guided by Zephyr's mental map, they systematically neutralized pockets of resistance. In one sealed section, they encountered an unexpected sight. Lisa! Reeves called out, spotting a familiar face among a group of captured station personnel. Lisa Graves looked up, relief washing over her features. Reeves, thank God you're here. These extremists, they're working with my father. He's behind all of this. Reeves' heart made at the revelation. We'll deal with that later. Right now, we need to get you out of here. Back in the lab, Dr. Chen looked up from her work, excitement in her eyes. We've done it. We've isolated the key protein complex from Zephyr's cells. Now we just need to synthesize enough of the counteragent. As the scientists worked, Crawford and Korvac exchanged a look. We need to get to the Environmental Control Center, Crawford said. If we can purge the bioweapon from the air system. Korvac nodded. It's risky, but it might buy us the time we need. The two fathers made their way through the increasingly chaotic station, fighting past small groups of extremists and helping trapped crew members along the way. When they finally reached the Environmental Control Center, they found the controls sabotaged. Crawford cursed under his breath. They thought of everything. But Korvac was already moving, his transformed body allowing him to access parts of the system a human never could. Not everything, he said, his voice filled with perseverance. Between your knowledge of human systems and my Iridian expertise, we might be able to jury-rig a manual override. As they worked, Dr. Chen's voice came over the comm system. We've synthesized the antidote, but we need to get it to the central air circulation hub to distribute it effectively. Crawford looked at the environmental readouts, his face grim. That section is heavily contaminated. It's a suicide mission. There was a moment of silence before Chen replied. I'll do it. I'm the most familiar with the antidote's properties. I have the best chance of making it work. In the lab, Chen donned a protective suit, her hands steady as she secured the precious vial of antidote. Zorn clicked his mandibles anxiously. Be careful, Sarah. The fate of both our species may rest on this. As Chen made her way through the contaminated sections of the station, Zephyr's mental link proved invaluable. He guided her around pockets of extremists, using his empathic abilities to sense their locations and intentions. Suddenly, Chen found herself face to face with a group of armed infiltrators. They raised their weapons, but Chen was faster. Using her knowledge of the station's systems, she released a cloud of chemical irritant from a nearby vent, incapacitating her attackers. Nice move, Dr. Chen. Reeves' voice crackled over her comm. We've got your back. Keep moving. Outside the station, a new threat emerged. Admiral Hawthorne's voice cut through the chaos. We've got a Terran Purity Front ship approaching. They're here to extract their operatives. The space around Nexus 7 erupted into a brief but intense battle as the Earth Defense Fleet moved to intercept. Energy weapons flashed against the backdrop of stars, a deadly light show visible through the station's viewports. Inside, the race against time reached its climax. Chen arrived at the air circulation hub, her suit smeared with chemical residue, and her breathing labored. I'm here, she gasped, ready to release the antidote. In the Environmental Control Center, Crawford and Korvac finished their makeshift override. We're set to initiate the purge cycle, Crawford reported. Zephyr, still maintaining the mental link between all parties, gave the signal. Now! In a single coordinated moment, Chen released the antidote into the station's air supply as Crawford and Korvac activated the purge cycle. The combined action sent a wave of realization through the station's air system, rapidly neutralizing the bioweapon. Zephyr, connected to both the station and its inhabitants, felt a surge of energy course through him. His eyes glowed with an intense light as the threat began to subside. It's working, he whispered, his voice filled with wonder. I can feel the station healing. As the immediate danger passed, the full extent of the extremist plan came to light. In the command center, Lisa Graves revealed the depths of her father's involvement. He was going to use this attack to push for a complete severance of human-Uridian relations, she explained, her voice tight with anger and disappointment. Admiral Hawthorne nodded grimly. But it seems his plan has backfired. The public has witnessed human and Iridian cooperation firsthand during this crisis. Support for Project Harmony is higher than ever. As the station began its slow recovery, Dr. Chen and Zorn made an unexpected discovery. Analyzing Zephyr's latest medical scans, Chen's eyes widened in surprise. The interaction between the bioweapon, the antidote, and Zephyr's unique physiology, it's triggered something new. Zorn clicked excitedly. Enhanced regenerative abilities. This could open up entirely new avenues of medical research. In the aftermath of the attack, the political landscape shifted dramatically. Senator Graves was arrested, along with key members of the Genetic Preservation League. The Terran Purity Front, its plans exposed and its credibility shattered, saw its influence wane rapidly. Zephyr, having played a crucial role in saving Nexus 7, emerged as a powerful symbol of human-Uridian unity. As he recovered in the medical bay, surrounded by his fathers and friends, news came in from both Earth and the Iridian homeworld. They're fast-tracking the implementation of Project Harmony, Crawford announced, reading from a datapad. There's talk of establishing the first human settlement on the Iridian homeworld. Korvac's bioluminescent patches pulsed with pride, and they want Zephyr to play a key role as an ambassador and mediator. As the immediate crisis faded and the work of rebuilding began, Crawford and Korvac found themselves drawn closer together. Their shared ordeal and joint efforts to save their son and the station had forged a deep connection between them. One evening, as they stood watching the stars from an observation deck, Korvac turned to Crawford. "You know," he said, his alien features softening, "I never imagined I'd find myself co-parenting with a human, but now I can't imagine it any other way." Crawford smiled, reaching out to take Korvac's hand. "Neither can I," he replied softly. As their fingers intertwined, human and Iridian, they both felt a sense of possibility unfurling before them, as vast and full of potential as the starfield beyond. As the dust settled on Nexus 7, the vision of Project Harmony began to take shape. Within months, the first human settlement on the Iridian homeworld became a reality. New Harmony, as it was aptly named, rose from the alien soil, a testament to the resilience of both species and their commitment to a shared future. Ambassador Crawford stood at the viewport of the shuttle as it descended through the Iridian atmosphere, taking in the sight of the settlement below. The structures were a blend of human and Iridian architecture, creating a unique skyline that symbolized their newfound unity. "Quite a sight, isn't it?" General Korvac's voice came from behind him, the Iridian's bioluminescent patches pulsing with excitement. Crawford nodded, a smile playing on his lips. "It's more than I ever imagined possible." As they disembarked, Zephyr was there to greet them, their features a perfect blend of both parents. "Welcome to New Harmony," they said, embracing both Crawford and Korvac. The first few weeks were a whirlwind of activity. Crawford found himself constantly mediating between human and Iridian work crews, navigating the complex web of cultural differences that threatened to derail even the simplest projects. One afternoon, as he was overseeing the construction of a communal gathering space, a human worker approached him, frustration evident on his face. "Ambassador, we can't work like this," the man said, gesturing to his Iridian counterparts. "They insist on taking breaks every hour for some kind of meditation. We'll never get anything done at this rate." Crawford took a deep breath, remembering his training in interspecies diplomacy. "Have you considered joining them?" he asked. "The Iridian centering ritual has been shown to increase productivity and reduce stress. It might be worth giving it a try." The worker looked skeptical, but nodded reluctantly. Crawford watched as he awkwardly joined the Iridians in their ritual, his initial discomfort slowly giving way to a sense of calm. Meanwhile, in the newly established research facility, Dr. Chen and Zorn were hard at work. Their lab was a marvel of human and Iridian technology, with equipment that pushed the boundaries of both species' scientific understanding. "I think we're onto something here," Chen said, her eyes fixed on a holographic display of human DNA. "Look at how the Iridian atmospheric compounds are interacting with the human genome." Zorn clicked excitedly, his multiple limbs manipulating various instruments. "Fascinating. It appears to be enhancing cellular regeneration at an unprecedented rate." Their breakthrough came after weeks of tireless work. Chen held up a vial of iridescent liquid, her face alight with triumph. "This is it, a treatment that can temporarily alter human physiology to better withstand the Iridian atmosphere." The implications were immediate and far-reaching. Within days, human residents of New Harmony were able to move about with minimal protective gear, interacting with their Iridian neighbors more naturally than ever before. As New Harmony grew, so did its ambitions. A joint team of human and Iridian scientists and engineers began work on an advanced interstellar vessel. The ship, christened the Horizon, represented the pinnacle of both species' technological achievements. Crawford watched the Horizon take shape in the massive construction bay, marveling at its sleek lines and powerful engines. "It's beautiful," he said to Korvac, who stood beside him. Korvac's bioluminescent patches pulsed in agreement. "More than that, it's a symbol of what we can achieve together." Security in New Harmony posed unique challenges, but Alex Reeves was more than up to the task. As Chief of Security, he implemented a hybrid force that combined the strengths of both human and Iridian personnel. During a training exercise, Reeves watched as a human officer seamlessly coordinated with his Iridian partner, using a combination of Earth combat techniques and Iridian sensory abilities to neutralize a simulated threat. "Well done," Reeves said, nodding in approval. "This is exactly the kind of integration we need." Zephyr's role as an ambassador took on new dimensions in New Harmony. Their ability to empathize with both humans and Iridians made them invaluable in resolving conflicts and fostering understanding between the two species. One evening, Zephyr found themselves mediating a heated discussion between a group of human and Iridian educators. The topic was the curriculum for the first human Iridian educational institution. "We can't possibly cover all of human history in such a short time," one of the human teachers argued. A Iridian educator clicked in frustration. "And what of our rich cultural heritage? It deserves equal representation." Zephyr closed their eyes, reaching out with their empathic abilities to sense the emotions underlying the argument. "What if," they began, opening their eyes, "we focus not on covering everything, but on finding the common threads in our histories, the shared experiences that define both our species?" The educators fell silent, considering Zephyr's words. Slowly, nods of agreement spread through the group, and they began to work together on a new, integrated curriculum. As New Harmony flourished, its success began to change hearts and minds on both Earth and the Iridian homeworld. Trade between the two worlds increased, and more volunteers signed up for the exchange program. However, not everyone welcomed this new era of cooperation. A series of equipment malfunctions and minor accidents in New Harmony raised suspicions of sabotage. Reeves launched a discreet investigation, his hybrid security team working tirelessly to uncover the truth. "We've got something," one of Reeves's Iridian officers reported. "Traces of a corrosive compound found near the affected equipment. It's not commonly used in the settlement." Reeves frowned, studying the data. "Keep digging. We need to find out who's behind this before they escalate their attacks." As tensions simmered beneath the surface of New Harmony, a new challenge emerged from the depths of space. The Horizon, on its maiden voyage to a nearby star system, encountered an unknown alien vessel. In the ship's command center, Captain Leah Chen, a seasoned human officer, stood shoulder to shoulder with her Iridian first officer, Zorn Tak. The view screen showed a sleek, otherworldly ship that defied both human and Iridian design principles. "Any response to our hails?" Chen asked, her voice tense. Zorn Tak shook his head, mandibles clicking nervously. "Nothing, Captain. Wait. Energy readings are spiking. They're charging weapons." Chen's mind raced, knowing that their next actions could determine the future of not just the Horizon, but of human-Iridian relations and potentially intergalactic peace. "All hands, battle stations," she commanded, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "But hold fire. We're not here to start a war." As the Horizon's crew braced for a potential confrontation, back on the Iridian homeworld, Crawford and Korvac found themselves facing a different kind of challenge. Years of working closely together, sharing the trials and triumphs of building New Harmony and raising Zephyr, had led to the development of deeper feelings between them. One evening, as they walked through a bioluminescent garden in New Harmony, Korvac turned to Crawford, his patches glowing with an intensity that matched the surrounding flora. "James," he began, using Crawford's first name in a rare moment of intimacy, "I find myself experiencing emotions that go beyond our professional relationship or our shared parenthood of Zephyr." Crawford felt his heart rate increase, a mix of excitement and apprehension coursing through him. "Korvac, I've been feeling the same way." As they stood there, human and Iridian, the possibilities and potential consequences of their feelings hung in the air between them. The future of human-Iridian relations, the success of New Harmony, and their own personal happiness all seemed to balance on this moment. Meanwhile, in their lab, Dr. Chen and Zorn made a discovery that would add yet another layer of complexity to the evolving relationship between humans and Iridians. Analyzing long-term data from human residents of New Harmony, they noticed something extraordinary. "Sarah, look at this," Zorn clicked excitedly, pointing to a genetic sequence. "The human DNA is showing signs of adaptation to the Iridian environment." Chen leaned in, her eyes widening as she processed the implications. These changes, they're enhancing human resilience and potentially even increasing longevity. As they delved deeper into their findings, questions began to arise. What did this mean for the future of humanity? How would this affect the balance between the two species? The answers to these questions would shape the course of both human and Iridian history for generations to come. As the horizon approached the unknown alien vessel, the bridge crew held their breath. Captain Elena Frost stood at the helm, her hands clasped behind her back, eyes fixed on the interface. Beside her, Commander Zax's bioluminescent patches pulsed with nervous energy. "Any response to our hails?" Frost asked, her voice steady despite the tension crackling through the air. Zax shook his head, mandibles clicking. "Nothing, Captain. Wait. Energy readings are spiking. They're charging weapons." Frost's mind raced, weighing their options. "All hands, battle stations," she commanded, her voice carrying across the bridge. "But hold fire. We're not here to start a war." The crew, a mix of humans and Iridians, moved with practiced efficiency. Fingers flew across consoles, powering up shields and readying defensive systems. In the tense silence that followed, Frost turned to Zax. "Commander, we need to find a way to communicate our peaceful intentions. Any ideas?" Zax's eyes narrowed in concentration. "Perhaps a combination of human and Iridian mathematical sequences, universal constants that any spacefaring race should recognize." Frost nodded. "Do it, and let's add some simple visual signals. Lights, maybe. Anything to show we're not hostile." As Zax worked on the mathematical sequence, Frost ordered a series of light patterns to be projected from the horizon's exterior. The bridge crew watched anxiously as the alien vessel hung motionless in space, weapons still primed. Suddenly, a powerful energy surge emanated from the unknown craft. The horizon's systems flickered, and the comms went dead. "Status report," Frost barked. "Communications are down, Captain," a human officer reported. "But other systems seem unaffected. It appears to have been a targeted electromagnetic pulse." Frost gritted her teeth. "Keep trying those visual signals. And Zax, how's that sequence coming?" "Ready, Captain," Zax replied. "Transmitting now." The bridge fell silent as they waited for a response. Seconds stretched into minutes, each moment fraught with the possibility of either breakthrough or disaster. Then a flicker on the screen. The alien vessel was transmitting its own sequence of lights and mathematical signals. "They're responding," Zax exclaimed, his patches glowing brightly. "It's crude, but I believe we're establishing a basic form of communication." Over the next several hours, the crew of the Horizon worked tirelessly to decipher the alien messages. Slowly, a picture began to emerge. "Captain," Zax reported, his voice tinged with awe, "I believe we've made first contact with a species calling themselves the Zalthori. They're refugees." Frost leaned forward, her interest piqued. "Refugees? From where?" "A distant star system, apparently destroyed by some kind of cosmic event. They've been searching for a new home, new resources to sustain their civilization." The implications of this discovery took a toll on Frost's mind. She knew that this encounter could have far-reaching consequences for both human and Iridian societies. "Send an urgent message back to New Harmony," she ordered. "They need to know about this immediately." As the Horizon's crew worked to establish more detailed communication with the Zalthori, events on the Iridian homeworld were reaching a critical point. In New Harmony, Alex Reeves stood in the settlement's security center, surrounded by holographic displays showing various parts of the colony. His team, a mix of humans and Iridians, monitored the feeds intently. "There," a Iridian officer said, pointing to one of the screens. "Another equipment malfunction in Sector 7. Reeves frowned, studying the data. "That's the third one this week. This can't be a coincidence." His investigation had led him to a disturbing conclusion. A well-organized group of Iridian isolationists, calling themselves the Purists, had infiltrated key positions within New Harmony. Led by a charismatic Iridian named Vextor, they had been systematically sabotaging equipment and spreading disinformation to undermine human-Iridian cooperation. As Reeves prepared to brief Ambassador Crawford and General Korvac on his findings, alarms blared throughout the security center. "Sir," a human officer called out, "we're detecting a massive power surge in the main grid. It's the Purist. They're making their move." Reeves sprang into action. "Lock down the power facility. I want a team there now. We can't let them succeed. As Reeves and his team raced to intercept the saboteurs, Crawford and Korvac found themselves facing a different kind of challenge. In Crawford's office, the two leaders stood close together, the air between them charged with unspoken emotion. "James," Korvac began, his bioluminescent patches glowing softly, "we can't keep ignoring this. Our feelings, they've grown beyond our professional relationship." Crawford nodded, his heart racing. "I know, I've been feeling it too. But the implications could be far-reaching," Korvac finished. "But maybe that's exactly why we need to acknowledge it. Think of what our union could symbolize for human-Iridian relations." Before Crawford could respond, Zephyr burst into the office, their features a perfect blend of human and Iridian traits. "There's an attack underway," they said, breathing heavily. "The purists are trying to sabotage the power grid." Crawford and Korvac exchanged a look, their personal feelings pushed aside by the immediate crisis. They followed Zephyr to the command center, where they found new harmony in chaos. Reports flooded in from all sectors of the settlement. The purists had launched a coordinated assault on key infrastructure points, aiming to force a full evacuation of the human population. Crawford took charge, his voice calm but authoritative. "Korvac, coordinate with our security forces. We need to contain this quickly." Korvac nodded, already moving to action. "I'll direct our teams to the most critical areas." As they worked seamlessly together to manage the crisis, Crawford couldn't help but notice how naturally they complemented each other's strengths. Their shared leadership in this moment of crisis served as a powerful example of human-Iridian cooperation. Meanwhile, Zephyr closed their eyes, reaching out with their empathic abilities. They established a telepathic network among key leaders in the settlement, allowing for rapid communication and coordination. "I'm connecting security teams with civilian leaders," Zephyr reported. "It should help prevent panic and allow for more efficient evacuation if necessary." As the battle to save New Harmony raged on, Dr. Chen and Zorn made a startling discovery in their lab. "Sarah, look at this!" Zorn clicked excitedly, pointing to a genetic sequence displayed on their holographic projector. "The human DNA is showing signs of adaptation to the Iridian environment." Chen leaned in, her eyes widening as she processed the implications. These changes, they're enhancing human resilience and potentially even increasing longevity. But as they delved deeper into their findings, they realized something even more extraordinary. "Zorn," Chen gasped, "it's not just the humans. Look at these Iridian samples. There are subtle changes occurring in your population as well." The two scientists stared at each other, the full weight of their discovery sinking in. The mutual adaptation suggested a deeper biological compatibility between humans and Iridians than anyone had ever imagined. As they prepared to share their findings with the settlement's leaders, an urgent message came through from the horizon. The news of the Zal-Thori encounter added yet another layer of complexity to an already volatile situation. In the power facility, Reeves and his team engaged in a fierce battle with the purist saboteurs. The hybrid security force moved with coordinated precision, their human and Iridian tactics blending seamlessly. "Left flank, cover me!" Reeves shouted, diving behind a power conduit as energy blasts sizzled past. A Iridian officer used her superior agility to scale a nearby structure, providing covering fire from above. Human officers used their strength to move heavy equipment, creating makeshift barricades. As the battle raged, Crawford and Korvac arrived at the scene. They stood side by side, assessing the situation and issuing joint orders to reinforce Reeves's position. The sight of the human ambassador and Iridian general working in perfect harmony had a visible effect on the combatants. Several purists hesitated, their grit wavering. Seizing the moment, Zephyr stepped forward, their empathic abilities radiating calm and understanding. "Brothers, sisters," they called out, their voice carrying to both sides of the conflict. "Look at what we've built here together. Is this not proof of what we can achieve when we unite?" The fighting slowed, then stopped. In the sudden silence, the sound of Vextor's weapon clattering to the ground echoed loudly. As the dust settled and the immediate crisis passed, The leaders of New Harmony gathered to address the multiple challenges facing them. The aftermath of the Purist attack, the implications of Chen and Zorn's genetic discovery, and the looming question of how to respond to the Zalthori situation. Crawford looked around the room, his gaze lingering on Korvac. The decisions they would make in the coming hours would shape not just the future of New Harmony, but potentially the fate of 3 distinct species in the galaxy. "Well," he said, his voice steady, "let's get to work." Crawford looked around the room, his gaze lingering on Korvac. "Well," he said, his voice steady, "let's get to work." The leaders of New Harmony gathered around a holographic display, their faces illuminated by the soft blue glow. Crawford tapped a series of commands, bringing up multiple data streams. "We're facing a 3-pronged crisis," he began. "The Purist attack, the genetic discoveries, and now this Zalthori situation. We need a unified approach." Korvac nodded, his bioluminescent patches pulsing with concentration. "Agreed. I suggest we start with the immediate security concerns. Reeves, what's the status of the Purists?" Reeves stepped forward, his uniform still bearing scorch marks from the recent battle. "We've contained the main force, but there are likely sleeper cells throughout the settlement. We need to conduct a thorough sweep." "Do it," Crawford ordered. "But remember, we're not looking to create a witch hunt. Many Iridians may have sympathized with the Purists without actively participating. We need to focus on healing, not retribution." As Reeves nodded and turned to coordinate with his team, Dr. Chen spoke up. "Ambassador General, there's something you need to see." She projected a complex genetic sequence onto the display. "Our research has revealed something extraordinary. Both human and Iridian DNA are showing signs of adaptation to this shared environment." Zorn clicked his mandibles excitedly. "These changes are enhancing resilience in both species. We believe this could lead to increased longevity and improved overall health." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Crawford exchanged a glance with Korvac, a spark of understanding passing between them. "This could change everything," Korvac said softly. "It's biological proof of our compatibility." Before they could discuss further, an urgent message flashed across the screen. Captain Frost's face appeared, her expression a mix of excitement and concern. "New Harmony, this is the Horizon. We've made contact with an alien species calling themselves the Zalthori. They're refugees seeking a new home. We need guidance on how to proceed." Crawford straightened, his mind racing. "Captain, maintain your position and continue building trust. We'll convene an emergency council to determine our next steps." As the transmission ended, Crawford turned to the assembled leaders. "This is unprecedented. We need to act quickly but carefully. Korvac, Zephyr, I want you both with me on this council. We need to present a united front." Hours later, the emergency council convened in New Harmony's central chamber. Representatives from various sectors of the settlement joined virtually, their holograms flickering around the room. Crawford stood at the center, flanked by Korvac and Zephyr. "We've all been briefed on the situation," he began. "The question now is how to respond. We have an opportunity here to not just help these refugees, but to showcase the best of what our joint society can offer." Korvac stepped forward. "I propose we offer the Zalthori Temporary Sanctuary on one of our system's uninhabited moons. It will give us time to negotiate a more permanent solution while providing immediate aid." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. Zephyr, their empathic abilities sensing the room's mood, spoke next. "This could be a pivotal moment for all our peoples. By extending a hand to the Zalthori, we demonstrate the strength of our unity." After a thorough debate, the council reached a consensus. Crawford nodded, a sense of purpose filling him. "It's decided then. We'll extend an invitation to the Zalthori and begin preparations immediately." As the council dispersed, Crawford, Korvac, and Zephyr remained behind. Crawford activated a secure channel to the Horizon. "Captain Frost, we have a plan. You're to escort the Zalthori ship to the coordinates we're sending. It's a moon in our system that can support their needs. Commander Zax, we want you to lead the diplomatic efforts. Your experience with human-Iridian relations will be invaluable." Frost's voice came through, crisp and professional. Understood, Ambassador. We'll proceed with caution and keep you updated. As preparations for the Zalthori's arrival kicked into high gear, Reeves and his security team delved deeper into their investigation of the Purist network. They combed through data logs, financial records, and intercepted communications. In a secure room deep within New Harmony's security center, Reeves stood before a web of holographic connections. He pointed to a pulsing node at the center. This is Vextor, the Purist leader. But look at these external links. His team leaned in, eyes widening as they traced the connections. A human officer whistled softly. Those signatures, they matched known operatives from the old Terran Purity front. Reeves nodded grimly. Exactly. The Purists aren't just a local movement. They're being backed by off-world extremists who want to see human-Iridian cooperation fail. As this revelation sent shockwaves through New Harmony's leadership, Dr. Chen and Zorn made a breakthrough in their lab. Chen looked up from her microscope, her eyes shining with excitement. Zorn, look at this. The treatment we've been developing, it's working. We can safely accelerate the beneficial adaptations in both human and Iridian subjects. Zorn clicked rapidly, his equivalent of a grin. This is beyond our wildest expectations, Sarah. With this, we could significantly improve our people's ability to coexist in shared environments. As they prepared to share their findings, both scientists realized the potential impact of their work, especially with the impending arrival of the Zalthori. Amid the flurry of activity preparing for the refugees, Crawford and Korvac found a moment of quiet in the ambassador's office. The air between them was charged with unspoken emotion. Korvac broke the silence. James, with everything that's happening, I think it's time we address this. He gestured between them. What we mean to each other. Crawford nodded, his heart racing. You're right. Our feelings have grown beyond our professional relationship, and maybe that's exactly what our people need to see. Their eyes met, and in that moment, a decision was made. Crawford took Korvac's hand, their fingers intertwining. Let's make it official. A ceremony that blends both our traditions. It could be a powerful symbol of unity. Korvac's bioluminescent patches glowed warmly. I couldn't agree more. As news of their impending union spread, it sparked a wave of excitement and hope throughout New Harmony and beyond. Preparations for a grand ceremony began, with plans to broadcast it across both human and Iridian worlds. The day of the Zalthori's arrival dawned clear and bright. On the moon's surface, a delegation led by Crawford, Korvac, and Zephyr stood ready. The horizon hovered nearby, its presence a reassuring symbol of the journey that had brought them to this moment. As the alien ship descended, its massive form blocking out the sun, a hush fell over the assembled crowd. The ship's landing gear extended, touching down with a soft thud that seemed to echo across the barren landscape. A hatch opened, and the first Zalthori emerged. Their bodies pulsed with bioluminescent patterns, reminiscent of the Iridians yet utterly alien. Tentacle-like appendages moved gracefully as they approached the delegation. Zephyr stepped forward, their unique heritage allowing them to bridge the gap between species. They closed their eyes, concentrating on projecting a sense of welcome and peace. The lead Zalthori responded, extending a tendril toward Zephyr. As their appendages touched, a surge of energy passed between them. Zephyr gasped, their eyes flying open. In that instant, a flood of images and emotions washed over them. The Zalthori's history, their long journey across the stars, their desperate search for a new home. Zephyr turned to Crawford and Korvac, their voice filled with awe. I understand them, their story, their needs. It's all so clear. Crawford nodded, a plan forming in his mind. He stepped forward, addressing both the Zalthori and the assembled delegates. Today, we stand on the brink of a new era. I propose we create something unprecedented, a tri-species colony right here on this moon, a place where humans, Iridians, and Zalthori can live and work together, learning from each other and building a shared future. The proposal was met with a moment of stunned silence, followed by a wave of excited chatter. The lead Zalthori pulsed with what Zephyr recognized as enthusiasm, their tendrils weaving complex patterns in the air. As the implications of Crawford's proposal sank in, a sense of possibility filled the air. The assembled delegates began to discuss logistics, resources, and the challenges ahead. But underlying it all was a current of excitement, the feeling that they were about to embark on something truly revolutionary. In the midst of the commotion, Crawford found Korvac's hand and squeezed it gently. They shared a look of understanding, knowing that their union would now take on an even greater significance. As they turned back to the task at hand, the future stretched out before them, uncertain, challenging, but filled with boundless potential.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.